Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I'm bringing you another episode of What's Broke Today. That I got a rash of four-wheelers in, so we're on the second one, which is supposed to be a Kawasaki Lakota 300. But this one, supposedly, which if you look, this doesn't look new. But it's supposed to have a new piston and cylinder. Not sure, maybe it's got a removable sleeve they can press in and out. I don't know. Never had one of these apart. I just know when I pulled on the rope, it didn't feel like it had any compression. So I hooked up my compression gauge, and let's just turn the wheel where I can grab the rope, and let's see what we get. And I got nothing. And it sounds like it's spitting out the exhaust. So I think I'm going to start out by pulling the tappet covers, front and rear, and also the access for the timing gear. And then we'll take a peek inside and have to look. I don't know if, yeah, this has most of these have a hole where you can access and look at the crankshaft and see and find top dead center of the crank, so we can check cam timing. So let me take some stuff apart and then I'll be back. Okay, so I got my timing marks lined up, and where I was talking about down here in the crankcase, I don't know if you can see where it's got the little line and then a T for top dead center, and then way back in the back there, which I don't know if you can see, get this down here, it says top, and then I have a LF 300, and so that lines up. When I come over here and check my valve clearance, my intake valve is kind of tight, but my exhaust valve was really loose. And we may get interrupted because they're out in the farm field doing ammonium nitrate, and if they come by with that, I got to go inside because I don't want to breathe that crap. But for now, we'll plug this in. This is my cylinder leak down tester, and I have 100% leakage, and it's at the exhaust, and I didn't hear anything coming toward the back at the air cleaner where it's at, so I need to get this around, get it inside the barn, and actually pull the top end off of it and look at the cylinder head and yeah, see what it looks like, because I'm going to guess more than likely they might have put it together the first time and bent a valve. Not really sure, because it's kind of hard to look up in there and see. I've got one of those little inspection cameras, but you know, the angle to look up in there and actually see something, I mean, there just isn't a good one. But I want to get the head off just to make sure. I mean, even it's always possible to drop the exhaust valve seat, but usually when you drop the exhaust valve seat, you have a lot more valve clearance, or slop in the valves, than what this does. So, but I'll get around and do some rearranging, get this inside, and we'll pull that cylinder head off and take a peek. Well, finally getting back to our Lakota four-wheeler, and it's cold outside, so we get this inside and let's take it apart and see what we got. But I'm going to pull the cylinder head off of it. And see why because I'm going to guess the exhaust valve is probably bent, but there's a bad thing about things this old, stuff like this rubber is super hard. That up out of the way, and I got assistance from the cat coming in. Actually, they're both here. Get that up out of the way. That back. We got our 8mm and rocker covers. There we go. Of course, that's still up on top dead center because I hadn't changed it. And this thing here's the tensioner for the timing chain. Okay. There we go. All right. Out of there. That one up out of there. Those two will have to come off with the head. But head loose. Those will come up out of there, or usually do. Lift this up. And timing chain gear in the way. I know it comes out of there, it's just a matter of finding the right angle to get it out. Oh! And then got a cutout. I wouldn't have expected that to have hit and caught and bent that valve. But it is definitely bent because I can see light in between the valve and the valve seat, which I'll turn that around. So I guess we'll get a exhaust valve, a head gasket, and stuff, and I'll pull that valve out of there. But yeah, I almost bet they put the timing chain on in the wrong clocking when they started and put it together, is why that's bent. Let me take a little bit more apart and I'll be back. Find a dry something to hit the button on the camera. Well, I got the head off. I pulled the plate screw out in the plate that holds the pins for the rocker arm, so I can pull that one rocker arm out. And what I use to pull those pins is these snap ring pliers for automatic transmissions. You can stick it inside of that and rotate it and pull it out. Then once I get it pulled out, I take a rag and I stick underneath the bottom on the valves, like so. And then I have this tool by, I think it's pronounced Lisley or Lisley, L-I-S-L-E, that, you know, has magnets in it, and I can put it right on top of the valve. And which I might need to get the bigger one, because this is, let me go get the larger one, because I think I need the little one, so that's what I brought, because there's two of these in that set. And this set is 36050, and it comes with two of these, and we can use these to remove the keepers and also to put them back in. I mean, it works really good on anything that's got the valve where you can't really get a traditional tool down in there. And you hit it with the hammer. When it pops down far enough for the keepers to come out, and the Phillips screwdriver is not the optimal tool, it captures the magnet, or the magnet captures the keeper. And once it comes out, we got the retainer, and both keepers are up inside of there. And then we can take the valve and push it out the bottom. Put that back. And we'll just set it there, because I got to get those keepers out of there. But yeah, our exhaust valve has its wobble. But I think while I was looking at this, I figured out the root of the problem. When I look at the camshaft in here, when I look at the camshaft up in there, there's the hole where the pin on the gear goes, and you can see there's a groove kind of cut there. I'm gonna bet when they did the piston on this, they did not get, let's that back down its hole a little bit. Oh, the pin sticks out on the sprocket right here, and I bet you they did not get it lined up in the hole. If I purposefully get it misaligned, I think I'm going to be able to use it, because once it does hit the hole, it does fall in there flat. But yeah, that is probably what happened. Is I bet you they didn't get it down in the hole, and this came loose and was allowed the cam to get out of time with the crankshaft. So then the piston came up and slapped the valve and bent it. Well, probably when it was wide open, because we got a little relief in the piston to deal with you know, if the valve gets up there and during overlap. So, but I'm gonna get some parts ordered, because other than that, I don't think this head is hurt. I will have to clean that up and lap in the new valve when I get it, but gotta get it ordered first. Well, I have parts for the Lakota finally. I got my head gasket, and I got my new valve. And what we're going to start out with is, before I put the new valve in, we need to lap the valve into the cylinder head. So I'm just going to take, this is valve grinding compound. I just got to put it on the face of the valve. And I'm going to take this and very carefully push it up into the cylinder head. And wipe up the oil I'm leaking. A couple of ways that people do this is with a thing with a suction cup. And they take and work it that way. I like using a cordless drill. So what I'm going to do is, I got a piece of hose on a Torx bit. I'm going to push that hose down on the valve stem. Then I'm going to take my rag and kind of put it over the tip of my finger and on the valve. And then make sure I got my hose on my valve good. I'm going to run it one direction. Okay, and I'll just change the directions of the drill, running it forwards and backwards. And what that's going to do is clean up the valve seat. And where the valve meets the seat, it's going to put a nice kind of dull edge on the valve, which is probably kind of hard to see. We can turn that light up. But yeah, it puts that where it mated, and that cleans it up and basically gives it a good seating surface for when the valve closes. And then all we got to do is clean this off, and we want to get all this valve grinding compound out of here, and we only want to get it on the seating surface. We don't want to get any of that valve grinding compound up here on the stem or in the valve guide. And what I'm actually going to do is take this, I'm going to step outside and wash the valve, the guide, and the seat off with brake clean. And then we'll get back to putting the valve back into the head. Alright, now we're getting ready to put the valve back in. I set the springs, because this has dual springs, inner and outer. So I set them back down in there. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of engine oil on my finger. Try and do that without making a mess, which is sometimes hard. And I always want to get that oil and oil up the stem of the new valve to lubricate it in the valve guide. And then I'll stick the new valve up into its place and then take my piece of rag and put on the bottom to hold it up in place. And then I got my retainers and the all put together, and basically what I'm doing is I'm assembling these just like they'll be once it's installed and down on the valve. And I'll just set that down in there like that, get it lined up, and then this tool here, the center pin is real similar to the size of the valve stem, and then when I push this down, this will ride up in there, and then it'll push the keepers down into place. And I'm using the small one, but I may need to use the large one, but we're going to find out real quick. Yep, and let's move to the large one. Yep, that ain't working too well. Let me go get my hammer, because those valve springs are a little stiffer than they usually are. See, I'm normally using this tool on a lawnmower valve, not a four-wheeler valve, which a lawnmower valve spring has no ways near the pressure this four-wheeler valve spring does. And I hit that a couple times, and basically what that does is it pushes, and I'm not sure I got that quite all, well, compared to the other side, I'd say I got it. I just hit it one more time. Yeah, you just got to get that down and get those keepers inside the grooves on the valve and make sure that they're down in there all the way. And that's good to go. And then while I got my drill here, so I get my old valve, and if you watch the head of it, you can see the wobble. I mean, not much of a wobble, but, and then you can also see where the valve, the witness mark where it hit the piston. So, but we finally get this all put back together. I'm gonna make sure, have our threads clean here, threads clean on that bolt, and I'm gonna red Loctite that cam gear bolt in. But yeah, next step is got to get the rocker arm back in there, and then the compression relief arm stuck back in. And of course, before we put our rocker arm back in, we put get our cam gear here and figure up our LF300 and our pin on the cam is kind of pointing toward 3 o'clock or toward this bolt hole to line up with our deal where it says top. So we want to make sure that's pointing the right direction. And then take our rocker arm and slide it up in there. which our valve guide is, or rocker arm is all the way out of the way, and then we can very carefully get that back up in there like so, and then basically just hold that and line it up till it starts going in where we want it. Then just need something to use as a to get it pushed back down into place. And that gets our valve clearance pretty damn close to where we need it. And of course we got, this is our compression release lever, so I'll get my 8mm and tighten that, and then I'll get my I'll go get feeler gauges and we'll check the valve adjustment before we put the head back on, because it's easier right here than it is later. Okay, and then got my retainer that keeps those pins from the rocker arms from backing out. I'm going to go ahead and set that plate down in there, and then hard to tighten those up real good by hand, so I just use this impact driver, get in there snug and just give it a light tap to seat it like those. Go ahead and make sure they're tight. Oh yeah, so hey, I'm going to look up my valve clearance, see what it's supposed to be, and I'm also going to look my head bolt torque, see what I'm supposed to have there. And I got to call him and see if he found the exhaust, because it showed up no plastic, no exhaust, half took apart. So I may start it with no exhaust, but I may just start it and shut it right off when I get it put together. Okay, in preparation of getting ready to put the head on, I'm going to pull the recoil starter off. And the reason for getting that out of the way is so I can grab and turn this with my hand. I'm going to start out with, I'm going to take my wire and fish down in there and get my timing chain and pull it up. I'm going to take my guide, drop it back down in the hole, and get it back down in position, and then I'm going to take my gear and get it somewhat in position there and let it just kind of hang, and then get my flashlight out and look and see. I see my T for top dead center is a little bit toward the front. I'm just going to rotate that back by hand and line up that mark, and then I'll set this back down. And I'm not actually going to worry about getting this in the right spot till I get the head on there and actually get ready to put that gear on the cam. And then the next step, I'm going to take my copper spray gasket. I'm going to do the get the head gasket ready, get this sprayed on it and get it set down on there, and then we're going to start fishing that cylinder head back through there. So when I get ready to fish the cylinder head in, I'll come back. Well, hey, this is Jerry. Still working on the Lakota. I was editing video and I was up to over 50 minutes already because everything I've had to do. And plus I've recorded more. So what I'm going to do is cut it in half. Do about maybe 30-35 minutes per video. We'll see how that turns out. But hey, thanks for watching. I'll say if you're not a subscriber, hey, join on in, because hey, it's not what else you're going to see on What's Broke today, and stay tuned for part 2. Well, hey, this is Jerry. Still working on the Lakota. I was editing video and I was up to over 50 minutes already because everything I've had to do, and plus I've recorded more. So what I'm going to do is cut it in half. Do about maybe 30-35 minutes per video. We'll see how that turns out. But hey, thanks for watching. I'll say if you're not a subscriber, hey, join on in, because hey, it's not what else you're going to see on What's Broke today, and stay tuned for part 2.